My name is Joel Marquez. You can see my name down here at the bottom. I am the Bluebeam product expert here at Orange Blade Consultants, and I want to welcome you to our latest webinar from what we like to call our Under the Hood series. We are your one-stop shopping for all things Bluebeam, from software to solutions and training. In this series, we'd like to provide a brief look into some of those features that are under the hood of Bluebeam Revu and explore some of its less obvious features that aren't readily apparent when you first jump into the program. So today we'd like to present three features that have absolutely nothing in common with each other except that they begin with the letter T. And let me just show you what I'm going to be presenting today. We'll be talking about templates, toolbars, and tabs. And as an added bonus, we're going to do it for you in less than half an hour. So in the end, if we can open your eyes to some new ideas and features that you can use in Bluebeam Revu, then we'll consider it a good half hour. As always, my colleague John will be monitoring questions in the chat box, so feel free to ask your questions there, and I will address them in the Q&A, or John will handle them as they come up. But definitely throw your questions as we go along. Okay, so ready? Let's just dig in. I'm going to exit out of the slide deck here and just give you a little demonstration that Bluebeam actually can be used as a slide presentation tool. So we always like to jump out of our slide presentations by showing you that we're actually using Bluebeam here. We're not using Microsoft PowerPoint. Okay, so let's talk about templates. Now, what is a template? A template is a pre-made reusable document that we can use to serve as a starting point for some processes that have to be accomplished a lot of times. So one example of this would be a form document or something that needs to be filled out with information, but you wouldn't want to have to recreate the document over and over. So it might be useful to have some kind of a starting point with generic content on it so you can fill it with specific content for every time you use that file. So let's look at a couple of examples here. So Bluebeam supplies us with some templates that are included whenever you install the program. So everyone has access to this. So if we go over here to the upper right, or sorry, the upper left, and look at this new button over here. Well, if we click on the new button, we'll be able to create a new blank PDF. But if you click on this side menu, the one that's right next to the new button, it will reveal to you a number of templates that have been pre-installed by Bluebeam with your regular installation of the program. So let's say that I want to create a simple memo. So I'll just click on the memorandum template, and this is what I get. So this is what Bluebeam gives you. And notice that when you choose the memorandum template, it names it with this generic document name. So it names it document 2. So if we select it again, what we get is we have a document 1 and a document 2. And the other thing that we see here is this asterisk that's right next to it. Now the asterisk, the technical term for this asterisk is that it signifies that the document is what the developers will call dirty, which means that it is waiting to be saved. So Bluebeam, when you choose a template, it opens up a file and gives it a generic name and waits for you to put stuff in it so you can save it as a new document. Okay, so let's do that right now. I'm going to use another thing that begins with the letter T. I'm going to use the typewriter tool to add some information here. So I'm going to click on the typewriter tool way here over on the right. Okay, and that'll give me my typewriter tool, and I'll just click in here and enter today's date. So it's the 6th. All right, so there's my date, and then I'm going to add my name to it because it's from me, and then I'm going to send it to, okay, and then now I want to talk to him about something. I want to talk to him about the water coolers. Okay, so, and then I'll just type some extra stuff in here. So anyway, so this is the memo that I want to send to Bob. And now if I save the document, the program's going to prompt me to save it with a particular name. So I'm just going to give it a name and then save the file. And that's it. So that's a really quick way of using a template. Now, Bluebeam gives you a set of these generic templates that it might imagine you to use for your just general work that you do. Now, there are other kinds of templates that it uses to make the filling out process a little easier. So if we choose, let's choose this fax form over here. And when I open this up, we get a little bit of a different behavior from the file. We have various things here that we can actually interact with. So these are checkboxes. So if I click on this, I want this to be an urgent fax, I'll just click on that. And it is represented with the check mark. Now these blue squares over here, these are form fields which allow me to type information into them like so. And then if I hit the tab key, it jumps to the next box in the sequence. So I'll I'll enter in some more information here just by tabbing to that form. Okay, so this is an example of how we would use form fields in the context of a template. Now, someone had to set this up. Someone actually had to create these checkboxes or these text forms in this document and then save it in order to use it as a template. So, I'll walk you through how to do that. What we want to do is recreate this memo template, but using these really cool form fields. Now, I'll walk you through that process right now, but I have to add that in order to create these form fields, you have to be using the special flavor of Bluebeam Revu called Extreme. So now the way to find out what version of Bluebeam Revu it is that you have, you'll want to go over to the Help tab up here at the very top and click on the About button. Once you click on that, it'll tell you whether you have the standard, the CAD, or the Extreme version. Now, I have the Extreme version, and that'll let me create a form field. Now, you don't have to have Extreme in order to create a template, but I'm just doing it because form fields are cool. So let me start out with that same memo that we were working with before. Actually, no, I created one earlier. So I'm going to hit the Open button and navigate to the files that I was working with earlier. And let's see. Let me get to, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and use the same memo form because that's going to be a lot easier. So I'm going to choose Memorandum, and this is a blank version, but I want to add form fields here, here, and here, and then here for the memo itself. Okay, so I'm working with this as my starting point, and to add form fields to it, I want to go up to my Form tab up here and click on Insert and then Text Box. So this will allow me to create a text box form field like so. So I'm just going to click and drag like so. Now I want to create another one for this line over here, and I'm going to go back and choose Text Box. And watch what happens when I hover my mouse over, because I want these things to be aligned perfectly. And it turns out that Bluebeam allows you to snap your form fields so that they align perfectly, so they're just the right width. Okay, so I'm just going to do one more here and leave it at that. And then actually I'm going to create one more for the memo itself. Okay, so that's good enough. Now, the other thing that I want to do is to add my company logo to this to personalize it a little more. So I'm going to go over to Markup and then Image, and then there's my company logo. So I'm just going to drop that into place. Okay, so now here's my generic memo form. I've added some form fields. I've added my logo. Now I want to save it as a template. So I'll go back up here to this pull-down menu, and we have an option here called Save as Template. So I'm going to call this Memo and hit the Save button. And when you do this, make sure that you just save it into the default location, because this is where Bluebeam knows where to find the template files. So I'm just going to hit the Save button. And now, watch what happens to this tab over here. Look how it has an icon in it signifying that it is, in fact, a template. So that makes it distinct from all these other files that we have here. The other thing that we see is if we go back up to this pull-down menu, it's been added to the list. So if I close out of it right now and then go back and select it, it opens it up as a generic document with that dirty symbol next to it. Okay, so that's a quick way of creating a template. Now let's say that I want to add a little bit more information to this, or change this document in some way. I want to edit that template that I created. Well, obviously, if I make changes to this, it's not going to modify my original template. So I'll close this down and go back over to my pull-down menu. Now, when I hover over the template selection, I get this little icon over here to the side. This allows me to edit that template that I had created. So now, if I make changes to this, let's say I want to just call it Memo instead of Memorandum. So I'll just get rid of this part over here. Let me do that again, because I don't want to save it as with that R at the end. Okay, so now I just want to call it Memo, and now I want to save it like so, close it down, and then if I go back here to the pull-down menu, there's my new memo. So what we covered here, just to recap, is how Bluebeam creates installs a set of predefined templates for you, but you can also create your own just by using any sample PDF that you might want to use as a starting point for your templates. And then if you want to save that document as a template, just make sure you go over here to the pull-down menu and choose Save as Template, and it will automatically put it into the folder where it'll be able to find it again, so it can use it, so it can populate it within this list. And then finally, if you want to make changes to that template file, go back to the pull-down menu, hover over the one that you want to change, and then click on this little edit icon that's right next to the template. So those are templates. So now let's move on to our next topic in the agenda, toolbars. So you've probably seen and even used these bars over here in the side and top of your Bluebeam program window. These bars that have the little tiny icons on them. And obviously, you know, if you want to invoke the feature that is represented by the icon, you would just hover over and click on the one that you want. So if I want to use this cloud tool over here on the side, I'll just click on it and start using it. Okay, so that's obviously, you know, everyone who's been using software since forever has probably used a toolbar. But did you know that these toolbars can be customized? So apart from just simply moving them around, we can also remove them or make them visible or invisible. So the way we would do that is to right-click on any toolbar, and we get this context menu that has a list of all the visible toolbars that come standard with the program. So these are toolbars that Bluebeam created, and they allow you to make them visible or invisible simply by selecting them, and then it'll toggle them on or off. So that cloud tool that I retrieved is part of the Shapes toolbar. So if I want to turn it off, I'll just click on it, and then that'll turn the whole thing off. If I want to make it come back, I'll right-click to get that menu again and choose Shapes, and it will toggle it back on. Okay, well that's fairly standard, and it might be something that you've known or seen before. But here's something that is particularly cool about how Bluebeam handles the toolbar interface. If we right-click on any of these toolbars, one of the options that we get down there at the very bottom is Customize. Now, Customize is a pretty cool feature because it reveals this. And this is the Toolbar Manager. Now, the Toolbar Manager allows you to customize your toolbars by creating these toolbar push buttons and moving them into and out of either existing toolbars or creating new ones that you can customize. So if we go over to this window over here, this little list box, we can see that these are the toolbars that we currently have available to us. You might recognize them from when we did the right-click on the toolbar earlier, because this is the list that's available, and you can see that the checked ones are the ones that are currently visible. But what we can also do with this is create a new toolbar. So to create a new toolbar, we'll just go over here and click on the plus sign, and I'm going to create one that I'm going to call My Toolbar. And you can be more creative with your toolbar names, but I'm going to hit OK, and now I have a new toolbar called My Toolbar, and it's listed right there. Now, it's currently empty. There's nothing in it. So if I click on it, it'll give me the list of all the items currently in the toolbar, and there's nothing there. So I'm going to customize my own toolbar by finding some functions that I want to use. Now, the first thing that I want to do is create find the toolbar button for that text edit box, the form field that I was trying to create earlier. It was a little bit cumbersome to have to go up to the form, the Forms tab to find the text form field tool. So what I'd like to do is just add it to my toolbar. So I'm going to have to search for it. Now, I can either click on this categories pull-down menu and choose All, and that'll give me the list of all the functions that are available as push-button toolbars or push-button tools. But Bluebeam also organizes them by function. So I'm going to go over here to Form, and this gives me a list of all the functions that are available that fall under the Form category. So I'm going to go to the text box push button option and then click on this right arrow. And that adds it to my toolbar. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I want to click on the editor push button because the editor button will allow me to enter my form field editing mode a lot faster than having to reach for it on the command bar at the very top. So I'm going to add that as well. Now, the other thing that I want to do is to add the lasso tool because I think the lasso tool is a pretty cool tool. It allows me to select multiple markups at the same time. But it's a little bit cumbersome to find because I have to go all the way over to the Edit tab and then click the Select button. So I'm going to find that. And if I go over here to Edit, it should be in here. But it turns out that it's not. So I'm going to go over to the All category and then just scroll down until I find the lasso tool, and there it is. Now, by the way, this is a very long list. So if there's a function or a feature in the program, chances are it's listed in here. So if you don't know what category it falls under, then just select All, and you should be able to find it. Now, there's one other thing that I want to do. I want to find my my thumbnails tab or my thumbnails button because I'd like to access the thumbnails tab faster than having to reach for it. So if I just scroll down, there it is, thumbnails. So I'm just going to add that as well. Now, the thing is, my form editing my form tools, my lasso tools, and my thumbnails are two conceptually different items. So I'd like to separate them so that they don't get mixed up. So if I click on this separator button, it adds a separator so I can group them into categories that make a little more sense. Now, the separator is way at the bottom here, so I'm going to move it up in the list by clicking on it and then hitting the up button. So now I have a text box and then a separator, and just for good measure, I'll create another one and move it down in the list to separate the lasso from the thumbnails. Let me just move this down to group everything a little bit better. Okay, so now I've got my new toolbar, and if I hit OK, it appears right there. So there's my new toolbar, and I can position it into place, move it over to this level if I want, and that allows me to grab the features that I want to use. Let me demonstrate by clicking on that Thumbnails tab, and there's my Thumbnails tab right there. So everything works, and that is how you will create your own customized toolbar. All right, now let me just give you another reminder here and ask you to just throw some questions in there into the chat window if you have any at this point. But right now, I'm just going to move on to the last part of our agenda. Let's talk about tabs. So this is a surprisingly large subject because Bluebeam has designed Revu to use tabs as a principle of organizing the entire programs. So they even give it a name. They call it tab navigation. Now, the way that we want to approach this is to talk about the two kinds of tabs that we have in the program. The first kind of tab that I'm going to talk about is the document tabs. Now, that's what we're working with up here in this, this tab area. We're working with all of our documents, and we can access them just by clicking on the tab that represents that, that document. So if we go back to our earlier version of the water cooler memo, I can click on that and grab that. Or if I want to look on this plan sheet over here, I can click on that. So right away, we have a little bit of a difference between the way that Bluebeam works and the way that a program like Adobe Acrobat works. Adobe doesn't allow you to have multiple documents in the same program window. You have to have a separate window for each document. And one of the benefits of having everything grouped in here like this is that you can access them a lot faster than you can by having to go through multiple documents or multiple windows. Now, the other thing that we can do here is that eventually you can see that because the program names or gives the name of each document in the tab, eventually we're going to run out of space here. So if we have a small space that we're working on, we're going to run out of space a lot faster. But another benefit to having all of these documents in the same window is that we can create a list that will allow us to access them faster. So that's this pull-down menu right over here. If I click on this, it gives me a list of all the currently open documents. So that's another way to navigate through it. But let me just show you another benefit to having multiple documents organized by tab in the same window. And that is the ability to detach them. So if I want to take this document, because it's a large format document, and I want to move it over to another screen, I can detach it like so. And now I can grab the title bar and move it to another screen. Now you can't see my other screen right now, but this will allow you to take perhaps a larger document that you may not be able to really effectively work with on a smaller monitor and then move it over to your bigger monitor. But let me just move that back into place. And if I click and hold on the tab and drop it back into the docking area, then it drops back into place. Now I just want to show you one other nice feature about having these multiple tabs available to you, and that is that the split screen feature. If we go down here to the bottom of the screen, over to the left, we can see a button labeled Split Vertical. So if I click on that, it splits my screen into two sections, allowing me to see multiple documents at the same time. Now, I currently have the same document in on both windows. So this allows me to be able to navigate through one part of the document, like I'm zooming in right now to this part of the document, while being able to look at the other window and navigate to another part of the document. Now, this is kind of a benefit of having being able to have your multiple documents in the same program window. Because if you only had the capability of opening up one document for each window, you'd never be able to look at multiple locations in the same document. So that's one of the benefits to having this sort of split screen ability. But of course, if we wanted to look at multiple documents, we could definitely do that. If I look at this document over here, now if I click on one of the tabs over here to find a different drawing, now I've got one document on this side and another document on this side. So that's another benefit of having the multiple tabs. So let me unsplit the window and wrap up by talking about the function tabs. That's the other kind of tab that's available in Bluebeam. Over here on the left, we can see these tabs that reveal various functions in the program. And if I click on this tab over here, I get my File Access tab. If I click on this one, I get my Tool Chest. So this organization scheme is something that is present in multiple parts of the program. So we have it over here on the left, and then we have it over here on the right with various other tabs that are available. And so Bluebeam likes to organize its functions, its larger, more comprehensive functions in these tab interfaces. So if we want to go to any particular tab, we can go up here to the upper left and click on the Tab Access pull-down menu. And so this gives us access to all the functional tabs that are available in the program. Now, the other nice thing about it is that it operates on the same principle that we had with the document tabs. We can click and drag to detach it from its docking area, and now it allows us to move these over to some other part of your screen or even a different screen altogether. So if you're the kind of person that likes to access multiple tabs and have them available to you without having to hunt for them, you can detach these and move them to another monitor. So that's a common working practice that a lot of people like to do. Just like with the document tabs, we can reattach them to the docking area, like so. But one other thing that we can do with it is if I grab this tool chest tab and try to bring it back into the docking area, watch what happens. Watch what appears when I drag it into the docking area. This is what I get. Now, this wheel doesn't really have a technical name, but I know that the developers at Bluebeam like to call it the Wheel of Destiny. Now, this allows us to drop the tab into a section of the tab holding area. And I'm going to put it in the lower section, and this allows me to organize my, my tabs into even smaller quadrants of the tab holding area. Now, this is sort of a vertical arrangement, and we can even create a horizontal arrangement like so. Now, that's a little bit hard to read, but if I expand the tab area, now I have a little bit more room to work with. If you've got a large screen monitor, that might be useful to you. Even if you don't have a large screen monitor, you can take this program window and move it to your small monitor and then move your documents over to the larger window. Okay, so it looks like we're up against our time here, and I want to make sure that we have all our questions answered. So, John, if you've got any questions into the chat window, go ahead and jump in. If we don't have any questions, then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. John, do you have any questions over there?
Yes, we do, Joel. I think we're just he's jumping off mute.
Okay. Yeah, I'm catching up. We're going through the questions one by one. I'm to Olivia now, so I'm going to answer Olivia, then move on to Paul. So I should have those answered within a minute or so.
Okay.
One of the recurring ones I see here, Joel, is asking if when you split screen, can you sync the documents, or in terms of being able to see the two different kind of move on the same plane together, and can you go ahead and actually have them move independently of each other?
Okay, so that is a fantastic question, and it's typically something that I present as part of the split screen functionality. But for lack of time here. So let me go ahead and dig into that. All right, so let's say that we have two documents that we want to look at that are different revisions of each other. So let's say I've got one document over here that I know is an earlier revision, and here is a later revision. I want to be able to compare the two of them side by side, so I'm going to click on the split screen. And so I've got my revision over here, and then I'll click on this tab to get me the original on this side. Let me close this up to give me a little bit more room. Now, what I'd like to do is to be able to sync the two sides together so they move in concert with each other, so I know I'm looking at the same location on both sides. And I currently am moving I'm navigating on the left side independently of the right side. Now, if I want to sync them up together, I'll just go down here to my navigation bar and click on the sync button. Now, if any of you don't see these buttons down here in the lower sort of right third of your program window, you'll want to go over to the View tab, click on Interface, and make sure that navigation bar is turned on. Sometimes that's turned off, and if for some reason it's turned off, you won't see these buttons down here. Okay, so I'm going to click on Sync right now, and now as I pan up of the left side document, the right side document is moving in the same synced fashion. So as I move left, we can start seeing what some of the differences are between my first document and my second document, and here's the difference. We've added 2 rooms to this cafeteria area, and now I know that there's a difference between the two. So that's a quick way of showing how to move your views of the split windows in concert with each other. Just make sure that the sync button is turned on. If you want to move them independently, make sure it's turned off. Okay, so that answers the sync view. Do we have any other questions out there?
There was another one where if you could quickly just repeat how you expanded a tab to take up the whole screen.
Oh, to take up, so if I detach my tab like this and I wanted to expand it so that it takes up the entire window, is that the question?
I believe that is the case, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, there are no maximize or minimize buttons on your tab windows, and that's because this tab window is actually considered part of the larger program window, so it doesn't have an independent ability to maximize it to your screen. But you can resize it. If you just grab one of the corners here and just pull on it, you can resize it to whatever size you like. Now, the other thing that you can do, actually, I think you can, if this is a Microsoft Windows convention, so if you take this tab window, click on the title bar, drag it to the very top, then it will automatically resize to fit the size of your monitor. So those would be the 2 ways of handling the resizing of the tab. Let me just drop this back into place here. And okay, so we have one other question. The question was, can you lock the scrolling between the 2 documents together so that if you go to page 2 of document 1, document 2 will also go to page 2. Well, the principle of the sync function is the same as whether you're dealing with a one-page document or a two-page document. So, so let me just go over here. So if I turn on the sync button of my multi-page document, then as I scroll to the next page on one side, it scrolls to the next page on the other side. So hope that answers that question. We've got another question. Yeah.
There's one more question here that I think is a really good one, Joel. It has to do with templates, and I think editing the original template. That if you create a template using Revu, and you go like update the parent document, like the Word document, is there a way that you can update the PDF template so you don't lose any of the template fields that you've put there, the markups that you've put there, et cetera?
Meaning that if you create a form like this, so we've got form fields in here, are you saying that you'd like to save this as if you've added information into the form fields, can you save that as a template? Was that the question?
It looks. I think that the user is probably developing the original form kind of layout in Word, and then they're going to be using Revu to actually add the form fields to it. And so if they adjust the Word document, they want to make sure that they can go ahead and bring that into Revu without losing the form fields that they've already put on the previous version.
Oh, well, so when you make the PDF from Word, it's sort of a one-way street. Think about creating PDFs from any application, whether it's Word or something else, as a printing function. So PDFs are originally designed as an electronic version of a printed document. So when you create a PDF from Word, you're basically doing the equivalent of printing it to a sheet of physical paper, but in an electronic form. So if you print it, then you can't really go backward and have it interact with the original document and be able to dynamically make changes to the original Word document, if that makes sense. So
I think that makes complete sense. I'm going to throw out there the possibility of using the tool called Replace Pages, because it should swap out the background content of the PDF itself. So when you create that new page using that print PDF functionality that Joel was talking about, if you hit Replace Pages, it should swap out the PDF content, but keep all of your markups and form fields in the same spot, so you can update that template pretty quickly.
Sure. If you have if you have added some content to the page, and so if I just and this isn't actually a Word document. Let me use this one instead. So I've added a couple markups over here, and we have a new page that we want, or we want to. We have a new Microsoft Word document that we've created a PDF from, and we want to add whatever is in the underlying PDF content to this document. We can go over here to the thumbnails and right-click and select Replace Pages, and then I'll find the document that I want to work with, and choose Replace Page Content Only. And what that's going to do is keep the markups that I've added, but it's going to update the underlying PDF with the contents of whatever was in the updated PDF. So I'll hit OK here. And now I didn't actually have any new changes to this document, so it doesn't look like anything's changed. But it kept the markups in place. So, and similarly, if you have form fields in the document, it should not make changes to that as well. So it'll only replace what is in the underlying PDF. So I hope that answers the question.
That was the last one that I saw there.
Okay. All right. Well, looks like we're way over, and and it looks like we didn't quite accomplish our goal of getting this in under 30 minutes, but I hope that was available for useful for everybody. I'd like to show our contact information and let everyone know how they can get a hold of us. These are our services. We are a Bluebeam Platinum reseller, and we offer guaranteed best pricing for Bluebeam software. So you can talk to us about getting volume discounts or even educational discounts. We also offer training and consulting. We can do webinar-based training, one-on-one over a web conference or even within groups. We can also do live training, so we'll actually travel out to your site and handle training for the groups that you'd like to be trained on Bluebeam. We take a consultative approach to our training, and we like to customize it for your particular workflow. So either basic feature training or high-end enterprise consulting for large-scale collaborative projects, or just deploying Bluebeam Revu for your enterprise users. So take a look at our contact information, and please feel free to talk to us. You can find us at our website right there. We are also reachable by social media. So we have a Facebook page, which you can like, or find our tweets over on Twitter. There's our Twitter handle, @OrangeBlade. All attendees who are present at this webinar will be sent an email with a link to a recording of the webinar, so you can share it with your colleagues who missed it. And you'll also get a special offer from us. So watch out for that email to find that special offer. Okay, everybody, I want to say thanks to Aaron for setting this up, and to my colleague John, who's been handling all the questions in the chat. So thanks for all of you for sitting in on this webinar, and have a great day.